Hi, I'd like to talk now about why I think our old ways of making friends is not working for us anymore, or not as well. I've certainly noticed that in my life, at least for all sorts of reasons, making and keeping friends is getting harder. And there's lots of reasons for that, and I'll talk and hopefully get some feedback on why that's happening to you and what we can do about it. But if we think back to the last three friendships that we had that actually continued, chances are that every one of them started in much the same way. You found yourself in or were forced into, in the case of school, for example, forced in to the same room or even the same desk as someone else. Over and over for months without even trying. It worked in workplaces, clubs, all that sort of stuff. And as we get older, we don't find ourselves in those places anymore because our lives have moved on. Our circles have closed and our networks have also shrunk or moved on. And you didn't necessarily choose the people you met there so much as you kept bumping into them until something stuck. But that was back then. And this is now, and we're dealing with different issues. It's different and it does raise its own issues. And as I see, the problem we're finding is this, that once you get past 50-ish, that good old well-oiled machine that created those connections and put you in the same room, in the same desk, or the same workplace and delivered us those opportunities mostly switches off. The kids leave. So there's no school gate to catch up with people anymore. You retire or you slow down. There's no workplace throwing you into a room with the same people every day, day after day. Or you've relocated and the street, the pub, the club, none of that's there for you now. So what happens is that we default and we do the thing that we used to do to make connections, that used to work to make connections, and that is we wait. We wait for things to happen, and all the while we assume that friendships will just happen again the way they always did. Like someone knocking on your door unexpectedly, I suppose, and look, voila, a new friend has arrived, just like that. Well, maybe not. But I also think there comes a point when we realise that it's not going to happen this easily anymore or that easily anymore. It's not a personal failing on our part, it's just maths. And here's how that works. Friendships develop pretty much at every stage of life, and they're built on two things, and that's proximity, which is closeness, and repetition, which is, of course, over and over again. That's the same room, the same desk, and all that sort of thing. We went to the school, the club, the pub, regularly seeing the same people without, basically making the effort again and again. And if you take that away, nothing is going to readily replace it, at least not automatically or easily. And I think this is the bit that trips a lot of us up. And as we sit back and ponder this situation of how to make new connections, we can tend to think the problem is us, that we've gotten worse at making friends or less interesting or too set in our ways. And I really think that the good news is, there is good news in it, it's not usually that at all. It's not us. It's more that system, proximity and repetition, that delivered the opportunities and used to do the hard work for us has just stopped running. I guess it would help if we recognise and accept that, for a start, the system has stopped. And secondly, it would help to think about the question of how might this actually work now? And the real and honest answer to that is we have to rebuild proximity and repetition deliberately, because nothing or no one's going to hand it to us automatically anymore. And that means picking something with a regular, recurring structure that you can go to, and that not being a one-off. So that might be a class that you go to weekly, not you attend a conference or a art show or something like that once. or a group that meets on the same day each week or each fortnight. And that's not an event we attend and never see those people again. Proximity and repetition. And also, and I think this is really important, means lowering the bar a bit on what counts as a reason to show up. And the reason to show up now might be to make connections, not because you actually are passionate about whatever it is. And that's really important, I think. For example, we don't really need to be interested in art or music or bowls. Bowls, my dad used to play bowls, or whatever the group happens to be about. The activity is just the excuse or mechanism for the repetition, which is the actual point. And also we need to accept that it's going to be a bit slow and a bit awkward, starting all of that process over again, oiling up a new machine, and reminding ourselves that the old friendships that we formed took months of accidental repetition to form. So the new ones are going to need some time too. This time we're just choosing to supply the repetition deliberately instead of it's simply happening to us or waiting. Now we have to make it happen because the circumstances we're in are different, and those circumstances are not going to make it happen. We've got to do it. Here we are, and it brings to me, I guess, to the realization that if we're waiting for friendships to click back into place the way they used to, that's the one thing that is worth changing today. And that's not about changing who we are. It's about changing where and when and how and why we show up. We need to stop waiting for it to happen and make something happen for you, for me, for all of us. And I'd love to hear about what's one thing you used to rely on for friendships that's disappeared for you now. And if you could drop that in the comments, I'd love that. I'll read everyone and I'll see you in the next video.